Well, folks, the only thing that goes up and down more than the value of Bitcoin is Archie's sister at a bachelor party. But if you want to go down in history, you go to www.NTTFGPOD.com and subscribe. I'm Rock.
That's not nice, but I'm Archie. Well, our opinions, they might not matter to some, but...
What are you doing in there?
It's a podcast.
Immature, crass, trashy. And those are their good qualities. These poor schmucks are a couple of IQ points away from eating paste. But when it comes to music, sports, and comedy, well, that's all they know. You're listening to
Not These Two Fucking Guys.
Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
Yo, Rock.
Yo, my man.
Yo, what's going on, my friend?
Oh, you know, living the motherfucking dream.
So, I saw something that I thought was really cool. These kids performed Du Hast by Rammstein, the O'Keefe Music Foundation in Ohio.
Come on.
Yeah, and I'm not. I mean, you know, these aren't the first kids, right? To do some heavy metal. But what I really enjoyed about this is that, do you remember back in the day when, like, you know, we used to have recitals or we used to have any type of musical events, and like if you see footage from there or if we wanted to record something, it just looked shitty.
Yeah.
It just looked shitty. Like, it just, you know, maybe the head of AUV at the school was just, maybe he was a half a nimwit and he just didn't really know what to do. But
The fuck is a nimwit?
but like, if you check this video out, this video is like in the video editing world, it's color graded, it's cut very well. It's shot very well, and this little girl sings the shit out of this song. Let me see if you can you hear this?
Yes.
Can you see this on my screen? So this is the O'Keefe Music
Oh, shit.
Foundation. Look at them all dressed up in hazmat suits and shit, coming in with their the bass is bigger than him. One little girl's hitting a garbage can. You know what I'm saying? I think it's pretty dope. I usually don't check stuff out like this because I don't know. I mean, maybe it doesn't interest me so much, but I don't know. Like, for some reason, I saw this and I thought it was shot very well. I thought it was done very well.
Listen. No, I don't want to listen. How old is this kid?
These kids can't be older than 12.
I don't want to shit in their dreams, right? but it sounds like we represent the Lollipop Guild.
I know. It does.
Now, that being said, it has to be a great song when, like, you don't speak the language and you think the song is awesome, right?
Yes. So you got, it's almost like a Slipknot type of band here. You got percussionists, you got guitars, you got bass, you got drummers, you got one girl's hitting a can. I think it was done very well. I commend the O'Keefe Foundation in Ohio. Big ups to them, and I don't know who. I guess you would read on, and maybe you'd see their musical director and check them out. But big ups to them. I thought it was a very cool video. Du hast mich.
I mean, like, these little kids speak German. No, I'm serious. They're singing the song in German.
They are singing this song in German. I'm going to say no, but then, I don't know. I mean...
You know what Du hast means?
Du hast? What does Du hast mean?
You hate me.
Really?
And that's the extent of the German that I know.
I mean, I could definitely find my way around a schnitzel.
There you go. Here we go again, Arch.
Here we go.
More fucking bullshit, bro. More sad news. The comedy world has lost one of the great ones. You know, you can compare him to Carlin, Richard Pryor, and most of the younger fans out there know him from the Chappelle Show.
He was a writer for Richard Pryor too.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of others. And Living Color, Larry Sanders Show. God.
Yeah, dude, he's the guy who gave Richard Pryor like his voice. I feel like his comedic voice, but rest in power to the great Paul Mooney.
Yeah,
dude, what an innovator. And I was very, very lucky that, well, my dad, when I was a young little rock, probably too young, definitely too young to be watching comedy that was pretty edgy and cursing.
Yeah.
But, you know, my dad loved Richard Pryor and loved these guys. And that's where I first saw Paul Mooney. And then years later, circa 2001, you know, Dave Chappelle gave him like a revival almost to his career, how I felt. Absolutely fucking hilarious.
Negro Damas.
Negro Damas. Oh my God. Dude, when I saw that skit, I couldn't breathe. I literally couldn't breathe. He, you know, and I'm reading like tweets and little blurbs from comedians of the day, and they're like, you know, Jim Norton had said Paul Mooney was the most comfortable comedian he's ever saw on stage. Got it. And that's saying something, right? From a guy like Jim Norton who like says anything, will do anything. Yeah. But yeah, man, sounds like he suffered a heart attack, and you know, we're losing all the innovators and the great ones one by one. It sucks.
You know what I did not know, because I know he was really well respected at the store, right? Yeah. But what I did not know about him is that he wrote for. I didn't know he wrote for Sanford and Son, and he wrote for Good Times.
First off, if you ever, you just fucked up 3 times. We're leaving this in the fucking podcast, cocksucker. What? So you said, let's rewind. You said, wah, 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 wah. You sang the wrong theme song and then called it fucking Sanford and Son.
Oh, you're right. I did Good Times.
And then you said Good Times and said, hey. No, you're still fucking up. God damn it.
Wait.
Okay.
Wasn't good.
What this dumb bitch was trying to say.
Hey.
All right. You said you were humming or singing or whatever the fuck you were doing.
One day.
You were doing the. Oh, hey, do me a favor. On the count of 3, stop fucking up. 1, 2, Trey. So, you were fucking humming or singing or whatever the fuck you were doing the outro music to What's Happening.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And then you called it Sanford and Son. And then you said, hey, which is the catchphrase in What's Happening, and you called it fucking Good Times.
And Good Times is dynamite.
Fucking, hey, got one right, folks. Give a fucking standing up. You dumb piece of shit, you.
Well, it just so happens that the only way I can justify this is that, man, I wasn't born yet when they came out, but I screwed up. But it's Good Times, ain't it?
Here we go. Arch.
Yo.
I'm super excited tonight, pal.
Let's go.
Very, very excited for our next guest.
Absolutely.
She does it all. She's a chef, a restaurant owner, a cookbook author, a TV star. Welcome the very talented Ms. Antonia Lofaso. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Very good.
How's California treating you out there?
Well, you know, I grew up out here and I love LA. I love the weather, but you know, I'm just, we need to reopen. That's where I'm at with this, with LA. Where are you guys?
We are from New Jersey.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm from originally Long Island.
Oh, nice.
It's kind of the same thing.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you're originally East Coast, huh?
Till I was all my parents were all born in Little Italy and then moved out to Long Island. My mom was born in Brooklyn and then moved out to Long Island. And so all my family's still there. The only people that are actually here in LA are my parents.
Oh, nice.
Little Italy, 2 streets left.
Yeah. Barely.
Barely. It's like a street and a half.
I went back maybe like 4 or 5 years ago with a couple family members, and we were like, oh, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But good times over there with Vincent's, the Galamad, everything.
Oh, yeah. So first and foremost, how are you and your family holding up during, obviously, this pandemic? Everybody's healthy, good?
Yeah, everybody's fine. Just all the restaurants are reopening now. So just trying to get people back to work. You know what I mean? Most of the restaurants were open during the pandemic. Just one, we had to shut down for the majority. So now we're just trying to get everyone back to work. My daughter's home from school. She was at school in Boston, and I don't think she's going back. She's just like, she likes the whole like online, gets to stay home in California. So
Yeah.
I think another one bites the dust. I don't think we're going to get her back in Boston anytime soon.
Yeah, if there was a pandemic when I went to school, I would have fucking never went back.
Yeah.
No way.
She's like, I get to go to class and just be on Zoom, but not on Zoom and like in my pajamas. Like, this is great.
Think about it. All the time of getting up, taking a shower, getting ready. It's all eliminated. You just
Hours.
put your computer on. It's fantastic.
She rolls over out of bed and just like flips on the camera. Well, flips off the camera, but just turns on Zoom and then sits there and listens.
Nice. Talk a little bit about first how the pandemic has affected, obviously, the food industry.
Well, I mean, that's such a loaded question because it's affected not just, I mean, when you think about the smallest level of the hospitality industry, which are, restaurants, shops, whether it's, anything from a bagel shop to a pizza shop to like a high-end restaurant, we've all been affected. The issues that we're starting to see now is sort of, food production. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we're really starting to see the backlash of this now, and we're kind of seeing it in the news in sort of a, honestly, really kind of silly, stupid way where it's like, there's no more boba. What's going to happen? And I'm like, there's a lot of things that we're going to see over the next year, just based on, if you think about it, supermarkets are a very small percentage of what is purchased from produce, from meat and fish, from dairy, very, very small percentage. The majority that is purchased is through restaurants, colleges, hospitals. And so it was a total halt to our food industry, not just restaurants, the food industry. Sure. You're talking about, ranchers, you're talking about fishermen, you're talking about the entire dairy, coalition that farmers didn't know as of last year what to start to farm because you're talking about crops that were just like thrown away because people were not purchasing. Farmers that have gone under, fishermen that have gone under, ranchers that have gone under because there was no work. And so we don't really know what that's going to look like. We're starting to see small bits and pieces of it here and there. But to me, that's the bigger issue rather than just, obviously, yes, restaurants are closed. People have lost their restaurants, lost their livelihood. The issue that we're starting to see now is just this, it almost feels like an assault on our entire industry,
Sure.
Because now it's not just, what we've gone through, but now you've got people saying, oh, people don't want to come back to the restaurant industry because it's such an awful toxic environment. Let's name one business that doesn't have an awful toxic environment in general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? That's just it's culture that we are weeding out. So to kind of say that it's just limited to our industry is pretty finger pointing.
Yeah. And we talked to Chris Santos a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that because of how advantageous maybe unemployment is and that he can't even get people to come back to work. So like finding a staff is like hard.
I don't know if it's unemployment. I mean, we can't put our finger on it right now. So I'm not saying that people, I don't know what it is. I think a lot of people have moved out of the state of California. I think a lot of people, front of the house and back of the house, realize now that this is a very unstable, not a lot of businesses, but a lot of businesses were able to continue on Zoom or on some kind of platform to continue some kind of revenue stream. You know what I mean? So whether it's a sunglass store or a clothing store, people were still, food. It was like, unless you're going in person, we were cut off at the knees. So I think people are really looking at this from a standpoint of like, this is a very unstable industry to be in right now. And I don't know if we want to do that. You know, I mean, they've been, yes, no, you can come back, you can't come back. But, you know, these articles that are being written that are like, you know, food service industry people are fed up with the environment and being paid, just like, no money whatsoever to have the most dangerous job in the world. I'm going to argue to say like, no one's going after Costco and Walmart and Target and all those people that work in the public with the public. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like no one's going after In-N-Out. No one's going after McDonald's. You know what I mean? No one's going after, those are all food service industries where you're still dealing with the general public. Like, how is that any more dangerous than someone working at a clothing store? You know what I mean? And so you're still out facing the public. So it's this weird assault that's happening right now where it's like, we've had enough. Everybody calm down and just like, leave us alone and let us get out. You don't want to work for us. Don't work for us. You know what I mean? But like, I was like, my servers make over $100,000 a year in cash. You know, there's a huge discrepancy that has to do with the front of the house and what the back of the house is paid. You know what I mean? Yeah. And not one of my back of the house employees makes minimum wage, but you want to get into like the whole cost of living in Los Angeles County. Do you know what I mean? And what the cost, I mean, the minimum wage out here can be $20 an hour. I mean, I start dishwashers and prep cooks at $17, $18 an hour, way above the minimum wage. I have kitchen employees that are making $20, $25 an hour. That is still not a livable wage in Los Angeles County. That's great. Nobody wants to jump on real estate, you know what I mean, and jump on rent and all of the other things that really cause those things to be astronomically high.
Coincidentally, when you said what you pay, Archie is actually Googling with his right hand right now, flights to California. He's going to move his whole family out there and get a job with you.
You're more than welcome to come out.
This might sound a little weird, and excuse me if it does, but chicken pricing. Meaning this weekend is my daughter's 1-year-old birthday. My wife called the restaurant. She went to go order a tray of fried chicken, and the guy goes, "Oh, ma'am.
Chicken inflation?"
Yeah. like the price of chicken.
I don't know. I haven't. I don't think that we're having a serious chicken inflation issue. But I can actually check right now. Hold on, let me text.
They literally said to my wife, "Ma'am, you're going to order a tray of chicken. We're probably going to cost you like $100, $200."
I'm gonna literally call my and I looked at. I'm gonna text my meat purveyor right now and ask him like, is there a chicken inflation issue?
So my wife comes back to me and goes, "Listen, I don't think we can order the fried chicken." And I go, "All right, whatever, just get whatever." And she's like, "They said it's going to cost us a lot of money. Like there's a shortage. They're not getting any chicken." And I'm like, "Yeah. Are they not bullshitting us? Like, what the fuck?"
You know, it's so funny, though.
That's the stuff that you're going to start seeing. I mean, it could totally be true. It might just be more for your area, but I can ask him right now. But we've seen that with pork. It happened during the pandemic where there was, all those pork farms that got shut down because of COVID. So the price of pork skyrocketed. So, it really just, it just depends on like what's going on. But we've seen it across the board with so many different things where it's like, the big one now is boba because no one can get tapioca flour. I'm like, oh my God, guys, everybody like be okay.
Flour.
It's gonna be okay.
Jeez. It's gonna be okay.
Talk about your restaurants right now. What's going on in your restaurants? How many do you have? I know of, Black Market Liquor Bar, Scopa, but what else you got going on?
So I got 3 restaurants in Los Angeles. I have Dama, Scopa, and Black Market. Dama is our Latin-inspired restaurant. Scopa is Italian-American. I grew up in Long Island, so very much like all the food I grew up on. And Black Market is like I like to call American eclectic small plates. So it's just a mixture of everything that you're just kind of in the mood to have a snack with when you drink liquor. We opened Black Market though 10 years ago. It actually it's gonna have its 10-year anniversary next month.
Congrats.
And it was supposed to just be a small plate restaurant. I just met my business partners. He was like, if we do $10,000 a week in food sales, like I'll be happy. So he was just hoping for like $1 million a year restaurant that just kind of like had good cocktails and some food for people to snack on. And we ended up turning it into like a $4 million restaurant accidentally with like 100 seats.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's great. But during the pandemic, that was all great 10 years ago. And like, the restaurant industry, especially in LA, people love running around and supporting these restaurants, and we make great environments with like, you know, great spirit selections, and like the staff is so much fun and they're knowledgeable, and like, you know, it's like we're throwing a giant party every single night. But it's like as soon as the pandemic hit, like everything just shut down. We though pivoted in like 24 hours, and within 24 hours we had markets up. We were selling liquor. We basically built liquor stores in all the restaurants. We built markets in all the restaurants. I was selling boxes of anything that I was doing, like Passover dinners. I was like, whatever, I'm a quarter Jewish. We're selling Passover dinners.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we had talked to one of our favorite bands, the Stone Sour. Johnny Chow owns a restaurant in Buffalo. He was just saying how that he turned half his restaurant into like almost a convenience store.
Oh yeah,
you know, to help people and out of necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, a lot of people still wanted to work. I mean, people, you know, there was no rent abatement. People don't understand what the margins are in restaurants. You know, they're just like, oh, you know, everyone should just stay home. I'm like, well, the world doesn't stop sending bills. And the margin in restaurants are so small. I mean, you're talking about 17% maybe in a good month that you're bringing in profit. You know what I mean? And so 17% of like the work that we do, it's nothing. It's so easy to all of a sudden be $500,000 in debt. You know what I mean? $500,000 in debt is like, you know, that's no joke to us. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, unless you have huge restaurants, you're not seeing those kinds of dollars. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like, even if you have restaurants that couldn't make the rent or whatever, you know, maybe the landlord gives you a break, but eventually they want that money. It's not going away.
Without question. Yeah. It's like, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, we'd like to not go into debt, you know, like go into a savings and start coming out where we're just paying to, you know what I mean? It's like the world doesn't stop. Like, you know what I mean? There's still rent that has to be paid. There's still everything that still needs to be paid. Nothing stopped.
That's awesome.
Where is California now with the
West Coast? West Coast.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, we're all the way west.
I tell
you hit the Pacific Ocean, you went too far.
Gone too far.
I tell you, you get these two together, and you know.
So I don't know the tiers. I don't really like pay attention to them. Like they, you know, everyone gets really excited. They're like, we're orange tier. I'm like, okay. What does that mean? And so, you know, and then they're like yellow tier. I was like, okay, great. And, you know, it goes from like people have to be 8 feet apart. Now they only need to be 6 feet apart. I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's what we need back is bars. That's our biggest thing right now. It's like, we need bar business. We're doing 75% food. The margin on food is so high. So margin on liquor is obviously like lower. You're allowed to have bars outside, but like, what are we going to do? Like, I love the way the rules have changed. It's like, it's okay to have bars outside. Normally it's not okay to have bars outside because there's people that live outside in the buildings near us, and we don't want to throw parties in the parking lot, but it's okay to do it during COVID. So it's like,
I was telling Archie, we so in northern New Jersey where we live, you know, close to the city, close to Hoboken, in normal times, if you took an alcoholic beverage in your hand and walked outside, you would get effing tackled by security. Now they were selling it. You could pull up and just get liquor in your car, open container, boom, go. It's amazing.
We had to stop selling liquor we had like these window setups at the restaurant because people it was like Vegas. I was like, guys, we still live in California. We are still in LA County. You cannot open the cocktail that I just made you and drink it in the parking lot like a Mickey's when you were 12. Like, you gotta take it home. You know what I mean? Like, because they were just, you know, all of a sudden there's just no rules, you know? I'm like, no, we still have a liquor license to protect. Take it home.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
That's like, I can't wait until someone starts writing like a book on just like all the insane things that people did. During quarantine. I was like, people have lost their minds.
I know.
Yeah, Archie always says it too. It's going to be like 10, 15 years. If you got the COVID-19 shot and you experienced this, and this, call this law firm and
wait for those commercials to come out.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Everyone's like freaking out because I'm like, I'm just going to wait, guys. I need a minute. I need a minute. Not ready. Like, let's just see if any of my friends start to grow an extra arm or like an extra ear, and then we'll talk about it.
It's crazy. It's so, you know, everybody's saying it, but it's a fucking crazy time we're living in right now. And for us not to know, like, the authority in the world, the government, the doctors, everything, not to know how to handle it. I mean, it's nobody's fault, but to be able to handle it, as we handle everything that comes about, it's, we're just going to live and learn and hopefully our kids are okay.
I never thought anything like this would happen in my lifetime. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we've just been so complacent and so, I hope that it does give everyone an opportunity to sort of pay attention to their health and take their health, as a priority. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully there's been some eye-opening experiences there.
So let's take it back for a second. I think we all got to know you, or our introduction to you was on Top Chef.
Yes.
Talk about that experience, because that's like unique. That's not, there's a finite amount of people in the world that get to experience something like that. And
yeah, that's called, now I have PTSD. I'm kidding. I was really young when I decided to do Top Chef, and it came from one of those things where someone was just like, what do you think about it? And it was funny because I was kind of a closet Top Chef watcher, and I'll explain it. It's in the food industry, especially when I started, when I did Top Chef, it was 2007. So what is that? 13, 14 years ago. The food industry was like, if you were on television and you did food, you weren't a real restaurateur. And so I worked for Wolfgang Puck at the time when the first season of Top Chef came out, and I was like a closet watcher with like the Somm, who was like from Cornell, and him and I would like Thursday mornings be in the walk-in, like being like, oh my God, did you see this? And like, we wouldn't let anyone else hear us say it because it was like, super taboo. Yeah. And so when I decided to do it, I got a lot of like nose turned up at me. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to be a reality television person. And I was like, no, this show is real. This show looks hard. And so when I did it, then my argument when I came home was just like, anyone who wants to talk shit about it, y'all should do it and see how hard it is. Because it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life, because it pushed me in a way that I have never been pushed before. And it's different from doing like a one-off, right? Like I do Tournament of Champions now, and that's like a week of concentrated stress. This is like 7 weeks of concentrated stress. Yeah. Where you're like living in a home and you have to remember, you're taken away from like your friends, your family, your cell phones, your computers. You don't know what's happening in the world. You're not allowed to listen to music. You're not allowed to watch TV. So imagine being pulled out of the world for 6 weeks. And your only reality is living with these like 15 other chefs talking about food, living food. So every single day is just like, I must win this competition or life is over. And so it's very jarring when you come out of that scenario and then you're put back at home. And so I do find myself now, and I've done it twice, because it's like that boyfriend that you break up with, but you still can't like really let him go. And every time he asks you to come back, you're like, maybe. In fact, they just asked me to be a judge on like this new version of Top Chef that they're doing, like Top Chef Families. And my manager's like, you're not doing it. And I was like, but don't you think we should just like wait and see if it's okay for me to say no? And she's like, no, you're 45 years old and you can actually say no to these people. It's like Stockholm syndrome. Yeah. It's a little Stockholm syndrome, I swear. Like I love my captors. I love my abuser. And so, but I mean, I absolutely love it, but I find myself now, like I was just telling Guy Fieri this, like when I did Tournament of Champions, he's like, are you all right? I'm like, no, actually I spent 2 full sessions of therapy talking about Tournament of Champions when I lost, because I have this like psychotic thing that happens to me when I compete now, where it just is like, it's the only thing that matters. It's like it's just too much, where I'm like, I'm getting too old. It drives me nuts.
I think though that's why your fans love you, and I'll even say that, like, and you notice it, like, so I've obviously seen it on Top Chef, Cutthroat Kitchen, like judging whatever it may be, but like judging on Guy's Grocery Games. But when you compete on that show, and it's like a fun loving show, I'm a psycho. He is friggin' intense, and it's like you're cooking your last meal ever, and it's like
100%. It's bad. I was just with Mark Murphy this weekend, one of the chefs from he's on Chopped. He goes, he's like, the first time I met Antonia, we're in the Guy's Grocery Games. He's like, we're playing in a supermarket, Antonia. There's things on a shelf. You're going to cook it. And I was like, we must do this. And he was like, calm down, dude. It's just a supermarket. You'll be fine. And I'm like, no, it's real for me.
I can imagine a chef of your caliber that a kitchen would be your safe place. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
When you're adding in cameras, though, when you're adding in, like the stress, does something switch off in your head as far as
I don't even notice.
Are you used
I
to
don't
it
even
by
notice
now?
the cameras or the microphones or anyone. When it is go time and you're competing, it's just you and food. I don't even pay attention to those things.
I was gonna
It's
say.
funny too, because a lot of times, like, you do have to be very cognizant of it, because obviously you need to be able to give information so that the producers actually have something to string together later in post. So I am kind of, I pay attention a little bit to that, but sometimes they don't get enough out of me. They're like, Antonia, you're going to have to like say something, because if I'm just too much in the food, it's like I'm just too much in the food. So
Gotcha.
So I do pay attention a little bit to that, because I mean, it's not fair. Like, they're there to make a television show, and you know what I mean? It's, I'm not going to be, it's not a life or death situation the way I take it. You know what I mean? So I do try to calm myself down a little bit and give them what they need. But they always say it's fun to see, when there's sort of the novice competitors that compete versus when we, who've been competing for the last like 13 years, we understand the game a little bit better. We understand like what works and what doesn't work. So, we're kind of the seasoned, athletes of the kitchen, if you will. And so it's really exciting watching the producers see us do it, because then they're like, oh my God, like that was, that it's so impressive. I don't look at it as impressive because we've just been doing it so long, but watching other people's reaction to it is it feels good.
So how are you at board games?
Same thing. This applies to everything in my life.
Like,
literally applies to everything. My daughter used to make a joke about it. She's like, when she was young, I never let her win at anything. A yard race, Scrabble, a card game. And my dad was like that with me. He's just like, because when you win, it'll be like you really won.
Yeah.
It'll be the best feeling in your entire life. And my daughter and I like did all this fitness during quarantine, and she kicked my ass so hard in a run about 2 months ago. I mean, just like gazelled past me. And literally I was like, yeah, I'm never going to be able to outbeat her youth. And so when she looked at me, she was like, I know I won. And like the joy on her face, I was like, okay, see, I'm not a crazy parent that doesn't let her kid win, because when she wins, she knows that like,
it's a legit victory.
it is the legit biggest victory to beat. You know what I mean? Because it just, I'm not giving it away.
Well, I commend you for keeping the old school mentality going.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So I saw you and your daughter. I watched not too long ago cooking on Guy's show at home. Yeah, and that's cool. And that's obviously different because you're not, it's not in studio in the market. You're doing it from home, and it just seemed like it was really cool to see the bond that you and your daughter had, and like the love of food and the love of like competition, where you could tell where you were like just so happy to be there, happy to do it, but like I want to make this great. This has to be great.
She was worried, actually. She was like, she cooks, but not like, competitively. Mm-hmm. She was like, I'm really worried because I know how you get, like when you're in work mode, like I just know to like leave you alone, and I don't want to like mess anything up. And I was like, listen, I'm going to do my best. You're not the first family member I've competed with. I've done it with my brother. Like I know how to turn it off to not hurt someone else's feelings, because I realize that I railroad over people. Like it's been a very like, I know that not everyone shares my psychosis. So in those moments I have to like meditate in the morning and be like, okay, we're just here as like for fun, and I love her and I don't want to hurt her feelings. And so, but she stepped up so hard that I was like, yo, you're in it now. Now we're in it. Like, and she was cooking and cooked so well and was like talking and she had the best time. And she was like, that was so much fun. I was like, honestly, that was so much fun. You did and I was like, I was giving her fish to fry, and I was giving her like big tasks to do. And it's funny because, I can't say it because it's something else that hasn't aired yet.
I just
no worries.
I hear her looking at her daughter. Don't fucking burn that room.
I was.
Don't burn that room.
Well, she calls it work mode, where my daughter has learned, and I think this is a really important lesson, especially for young generation right now, which is don't take shit personally.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so, I was like, just don't take stuff personally. Like if I'm talking a certain way and I'm at work and you don't like my tone, you don't need to have a conversation about it. It's not for you to like. I'm at work. You know what I mean? And it's not about you. That's like the whole thing with this generation of kids. They think everything is about them. They spoke to me a certain way. It's not about you. I'm just having a moment. Like, and so it's so interesting where she's learned to compartmentalize that, which I love so much, where she'll be like, she's just in a mood. She's just having a moment.
That's good.
This has nothing to do with me. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just going to do my thing over here. And she'll say stuff to me. She'll be like, you call me when you're ready.
I think that's great to be wise beyond her years, to have that perspective, because you, Archie, and myself are all around the same age. And, you know, us coming up working, there wasn't always a please and a thank you. It was screaming, do this, and you just got it done. Yeah, that was it.
And so I do see that in her a little bit, where she just and she calls it my work mode. She's like, oh, and she's like that. And she does that with other people, where she'll be like, oh, that person's clearly like having their own thing. Like, I'll just step away from them. You know what I mean? Not where it's like, you've offended me. You've like hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? So she grew up with me, and she grew up with my dad, who is like, you know, 100 times worse than I am. I wonder where I got it, but like, you know.
That's why, I mean, I'm scared. I'm scared. I have a 1-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, and I'm just scared.
They'll
Two
be
girls.
fine.
I just want to know what the hell, like.
They're gonna be tougher than you. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine. I was worried for a second, because especially in LA, I sent her to very, very LA private schools.
Okay.
Because, you know, Los Angeles ranks 47, you know, on the scale of like schools that are good in the United States. So it was like that, you know, either she doesn't get an education, or I send her to like, you know, crazy private schools. So I was a little worried at first, because I was like, that's not how I grew up. That's not how I kind of like raise her. You know, there's like, you know, all these like, you know, sets of, you know, it's okay not to go to school today and like have a mental health day. And I'm like, no, actually, like, unless you're bleeding out of your eyes, you're going to school. You know what I mean? She went to one school that was like, you know, Zaya just hasn't done any of her Spanish homework, but what we're going to do is we're going to try for next time to do our Spanish homework. I was like, oh, really? So like in my world, if I took $3 million and opened a restaurant, but I tried really hard to do a good job, but it didn't really work out, I'll have better luck next time. There will be no next time. Yeah. There is no next time.
I'm picturing myself telling my mother that I need a mental health day. Guess what she would say to me?
Again, we have a lot in common. All have Italian parents. If I ever told my dad that, I would have gotten slapped out of my house, I think.
And like, to be totally clear, she has suffered from, and she talks about this openly, so me saying it's not a big deal, has suffered from serious anxiety, bipolar. She's on prescription medication. She's so great. It's been a blessing for her, et cetera, et cetera. She's a huge advocate in mental health, like as am I. But at the end of the day, there's a way to do it where it's not like, hey, by the way, I'm going to take this day and the whole world gets to stop. And I don't have, you know, that's kind of what we've talked about, where it's like, you still have all of the things that you're responsible for, even with this extra stuff that you're dealing with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, there is no, like, you can deal, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, you're having a rough day. That doesn't mean, you know what I mean, that we still don't get up and don't go to work and don't like do all the things that we have to do during the day because of, you know, the shit that we're dealing with.
And that's a healthy outlook too. You know, like Archie and I both, I'm going to say we have a level of anxiety, OCD, you know, but we're in a band, right? And, you know, you would think that people that had that, I think we kind of like did that to face our fears, to like go up there and like do our thing. And I think that's pretty powerful though, to not, you know, to acknowledge it. Right.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Most creatives suffer from a ton of anxiety. Like, most creatives suffer from, you know, just the insane thoughts that go through our head, and depression and mania and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, if you really look at the history of like truly creative people, it's kind of in the wiring of their DNA. Our DNA.
100%.
Yeah.
So I've seen, and this is where I think there's big parallels to what you do as a competitor in the kitchen. I've seen multiple interviews with you where you said that if you weren't a chef, restaurant owner,
that I would be in MMA.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And there's so many, if you think about it, there's so many parallels, right? So we've talked to, tons of UFC, MMA fighters, that have gone through the UFC Tough Enough house, the Ultimate Fighter house, and they have no phone. They can't talk to their friends. They have no. Same thing you went through at Top Chef, right? You can't talk to your friends. You can't. You have no phone. There's no communication. So it's easy to be comfortable when you're in your own environment, right? When they're in their own gym. Okay, it's my gym. I can do this. I can do that. I have my friend support. I have this. Same thing. You're in your own kitchen. You're at your own restaurant. I have this. I have that. People to lean on. When you're out there on a show like that, you don't have any of that. And that's, I think, what separates, true competitors to people that maybe they can't cut it.
Well, 100%. And the other thing is, that's not that you give people a pass that maybe like had a little bit of a breakdown on these reality shows, because, it's like, listen, this isn't just about cooking. This is about like mental warfare at this point. You know what I mean? Like who's really prepared? Like I used to do stuff on Top Chef where we would be sometimes woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we don't know when they're coming. This is the crazy part. So it's not like, hey, by the way, your camera crew is going to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning. We would go to sleep at night and they would just show up. It could be 5 a.m. It could be 10 a.m. We didn't know. So imagine just living with that. Then it's like packing food in a bag, packing extra clothes. And like I had food in bags. I had extra clothes in bags. When we used to go in the stew room, if we hadn't slept, I would like lay down on cardboard, pull sweatshirts out of my bag, make beds and sleep for 15 minutes because I was like, y'all are not going to get me. You know what I mean? Or they would do stuff where like we would not really eat, or if we ate, it was like leftover craft service that was like freezing cold. And here you are giving chefs who like pride themselves on the food that we put in our bodies every day, like the worst catering you've ever had in your life every single day. And so it's like the level of mental warfare that went along with it. And then they were like, hey, by the way, exactly what you said, these boxers that are used to being in their gyms, we're not in our own kitchens. And then we have everything taken away from us. Yeah. So half the time we're not even using the equipment that we want or getting the food that we want. It's like, you're going to be working with like, cow toe. And I hope you make it really well. And so, it's all of those factors that when you're successful in that moment, then it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then when you fail, you usually find out something big about yourself. But yes, it is like ultimate fighting. It's training for it. It's putting yourself in the right mental attitude. I think that they're literally one of the same. Sure. Michelle Watterson and I competed on Guys Grocery Games. She was just the main. Yeah. Do you watch her?
Good fight. Yep.
She's great. Her and I've kept in touch. I've gone and trained with her in Albuquerque. Tate Fletcher, who was on Ultimate Fighter. Yeah. Like I'm friends with all those guys, and they are. I took Japanese jiu-jitsu for a while because I was just like into it, which they always make fun of me because it wasn't Brazilian jiu-jitsu. My brother owns a boxing gym. So yeah. I also take like fitness. I do a ton of like Olympic weightlifting as like part of my own like de-stressing. And I love the competitiveness, of that, and, I do ice baths and I do sauna. So like I kind of try to train. I mean, I don't train anywhere near the way they train, but like doing similar things, and yeah, I love it. That's exactly what I would do for a living.
I wonder what your nickname would be, your fighting name.
What would my fight name be?
Yeah, what would your fight name be?
She's like the karate hottie. I don't know, like, you can't say the Italian stallion because Rocky already took that.
And what would she walk out
Rocky.
To? What intro music would she have too?
Oh, my intro music for tournament. I got really excited because my intro music for Tournament of Champions was Mr. Brightside. Like I love that kind of like fast punky.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that would be like my intro music.
Okay.
That's cool that you have these relationships, especially with, someone who's so successful like Michelle Watterson. Just fought this past Saturday. Really good fight.
Well, she's a huge foodie, and she owns like a taco chain in Albuquerque. Right. I can't remember the name. Oh, my meat purveyor just got back with the chicken news. You want the chicken news?
This just in on the chicken front.
It's just in on the chicken news. Question asked earlier.
I need it.
Chicken, along with other proteins, are in crisis now and have been rising steadily since the demand went crazy with the opening up of dining. I have never seen all of the proteins go up with such severity in my whole career.
Wow.
The major protein providers cannot keep up with the demand due to the lack of labor. Primarily, they can't get workers to come back to work. Corn is at an all-time high for feed, and transportation costs are through the roof. I'm sorry, it's all over the news, along with lumber, food staples, and fuel. I will email you, and then other stuff that you don't need here.
So she's not getting ripped off, Arch.
You're not getting ripped off.
We're not getting ripped off.
And it's not just chicken. And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
And I'm not serving fried chicken this weekend.
I'm saying, so Saturday for your daughter's birthday, what should I expect? Like just burgers or something? Like, I mean, come on.
So, he's like Portobello burgers because apparently like mushrooms are fine right now.
Talk about, you have a clothing company.
Yes, Chefletics.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we built Chefletics about 5 years ago. And really, it came down to, again, me doing like a ton of, my workout and everything. I love to be in workout clothes. I know I get it. I live in Southern California. When are we not in like Lululemon or workout clothes? It's like a joke. But to work in, I grew up in Bricard and like all these other jackets that were very stuffy and I mean, very beautiful, but just hard to move in. And so I started just kind of getting stuff from Nike and Lululemon to try to find things that felt more comfortable to work in. When you think about like what chefs do, we are lifting heavy bags of, 100-pound bags of flour, huge cases of tomatoes, boxes of oranges, and we're going up and down stairs. And so it is very athletic what we do. And so it's, I basically built clothing for chefs that's modeled after athletic wear, and people love it. Like
I saw a lot of stuff. It's like what's the fabric? It's like the
so it's like moisture wicking. Exactly. Yeah. It's like Nike Dry Fit. So it's the same exact thing. So and I've used this. I've used this jacket at Coachella in 104 degree, humidity, not humidity, but dry desert, grilling lamb. And what it does is it actually cools you because it pulls the moisture away from you. So you're not sitting in your sweat. And it's actually really insane because people will look at it and it looks like scuba gear to a certain degree. And so people are like, oh my God, that looks too heavy. And I'm like, just put it on. You're going to be so shocked by what it does. And then more importantly, like we always want to look good. And so it's form fitting, which, it's great for all like sizes of chefs. And the other part to it too is like, when we go out to say hello to someone in the dining room, we've got like shit all over us. Yeah. It's one of the things where you can like take a rag and just wipe it off and it's like good as new, and then you got so many chefs that literally like just throw their jackets in the back of their car and like use it the next day or something, or they throw it in luggage so it doesn't wrinkle. And so there's so many benefits to the jacket that I'm like, I haven't stopped wearing the jacket. I love it. And I got one, the next one's coming out. Like we have ones with hoodies so that when you go into the walk-in, it like keeps you, it's basically like the way that I dress. I'm like always in hoodies and Converse. So I'm like, let's just have a clothing line that's made out of like hoodies and Converse.
That's awesome. Let's take it to the next level right there.
I saw all like the designs on your website. It looks really cool. It's like actually stylish. It's not like you said, it's not like what you saw, like the regular chef coat and, from years past and I think what you said, it made a good point. Now, again, much different level. When Archie and I were younger, we're Italians. We had to work at a pizzeria. It was in our contract, right? But like lugging
your birth contract. It's your birth contract. Oh yeah,
absolutely. Lugging up flour from the basement, going to grab shit out of the walk-in. It does get strenuous, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I'm sweating. I'm out of breath. I'm sweating. I'm carrying like 75-pound wheels of cheese of like, not just a Parmesan, but like the imported provolones, those long wheels you'd like throw, it's like lumber. Yeah. And so it was always strange to me that like the clothes didn't really match the work.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Basically.
Yeah.
Arch, remember? I swear to God, every winter I felt like we were getting like pneumonia because we'd be in a 200-degree kitchen and all right, go deliver this down the street. Walk outside, it's like December, freezing, like 30 degrees.
I know.
All right,
I know.
Well, it's like the walk-in. It's like, you're and like that contrast is like you're working on the line. It's like at least 90 degrees. You're hot, you're sweaty, and then you go do an order in the walk-in, and you're like, I'm sweating and I'm freezing now. So we would always have sweatshirts that we would put on over our chef coats to go into the walk-in to do the order at the end of the night. And I'm like, no, now I just have like a hoodie on the outside of my jacket that like insulates the top of your head and keeps you warmer.
That's awesome.
I'm curious about this. As Rocco mentioned before, we're in a band, right? And we've recorded, we play out, and every time we play out, we always put like a set list together, right? What song's going to flow into another one, and then in our albums, what's going to flow into another one. Menus, they tell stories.
100%.
And how much strategic planning is going into your menu? I know a lot, but I mean the way everything's laid out and how you're putting stuff together, food together. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I've actually never been asked it before. So that's congratulations for asking me.
I win.
It's a very like deep question about the process of what it is to sort of build a restaurant. And listen, it starts with your overall concept, right? And you and your designers and your business partners, you're thinking about this concept over and over again, right? And so when someone walks into the restaurant, right, whether they can articulate this or not, just through the design and the music and the lighting and who they're greeted by, they feel like, I understand what I'm about to eat here. Right. So I can't even do anything if that doesn't match what it is that we're trying to do. Right. So if you walked into Scopa, right, and it was like plastic white tables and like, little yellow like flowers, you would never be like, oh, I'm going to get a cannoli and some lasagna in here. Yeah. So like people can't articulate that. But it's like if you walk into Scopa, it's like the brick walls, like you'd be like, I bet they have just delicious lasagna here. Right?
Yes, correct.
So it starts there with your concept and your design because people already start checking off boxes in their head. Do you know what I mean? About like, does this fit what I'm anticipating? So to be honest, the menu really comes like almost at the end. Like I know roundabout what I want to do and I'll be like articulating it. Like when we opened Dama, and I was scared to open Dama because it was like last restaurant, everything else is like done so well. I'm like, oh my God, I opened one, it did great. I opened two, like, is this going to be the one where I'm just like realize that I'm a failure? And we're like, my business partner who's Colombian is like, I want it to feel like this very sort of outdoor, like Colombian piazza with like broken tile and beautiful flowers hanging and like this, all this like old school, like Colombian and Spanish and like Mexican and inspired music and like all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, now I start to breathe in on that. Like, what are we going to do? And so I'll start just like building dishes in my head and writing them out, right? Like hundreds of dishes. And then you start to kind of piece them together on like, how would I eat this, right? So I'll build 100 dishes in my head. I'll start testing them over and over again, testing them, trying to get them on the plate that they would actually go on, thinking about the plates, looking at plates. Again, all of this needs to come together. And it really isn't until like 30 days before we open does that menu actually, of all the things I've been playing with for months, to build into an actual sequence of what we're going to do. Because then I this is what I play. I play, who are we eating out with tonight? So I'm like, oh, tonight it's just me and my best friend who I haven't seen since I was 12. And we're going to sit at the bar and have tequila on the rocks. What would we have?
Okay.
Right. And then I start marking off.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we play. Okay. I'm two dudes who just got out of the gym and it's, Monday night. We just want to have a couple beers and like we pass by Dama. What are they eating? And so I try to build the menu of my 100 picks based on all of the scenarios that I can check off of people in my 25-year career that I have watched walk through my restaurants. You know what I mean? The Tinder date, the 75-year-old husband and his like 60-year-old wife, who all their kids and grandkids are grown up and they just go out every single night, get schnockered and still love each other, date. And so literally I've seen everyone. The businessman, the startup guys, the group of girls that haven't seen each other since college. Like I put all the scenarios together to make sure that I'm hitting like every single like cultural demographic, age demographic, because I want the restaurant to be everyone. You know what I mean? And so I pay attention to all that stuff.
That's awesome.
It is like constructing, for us, like constructing a song, like we could, we write songs and make songs that only we like, but we're not going to be very successful, right? It has to be, okay, we like it, but who does it appeal to? Who's this song talking to? What do the lyrics have to do with, what's going on with people? But I think that's that's real cool. And I know that one of the sayings in the hospitality industry is, eye appeals half the meal. So like when you walk in and you see the place and now listen, I'm sure
it matters, and people like to be like, the food is everything. And I'm like, here's the thing. If the food isn't good,
then you're coming back.
Nothing works.
Yeah.
But all of it matters. You know what I mean? So, and again, people can't always articulate it unless you're a food person or you really know what you're looking for, but everyone feels it. So you can walk into a restaurant and be like, oh, the music's too loud, or, oh, the lighting is awful. Or, the host was so awful and didn't know anything and was not hospitable. And then I sat down and the drink that I got is in this awful wine glass or this, or ice that's all watered down. And it's like, when you start missing the marks there, they hate you before they haven't even eaten your food.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So like, but you knock it out of the park everywhere, and then the food sits down and they're like, this is the best calamari I ever eat. Like eaten, you've got like you got to win. You know what I mean? And so, and all my places are built for volume. They're built for people to be in multiple times a week, God willing, because it's one of those things where I don't, it's not a specialty place. It's not like I ate there and that was really cool once and maybe I'll go back on a birthday. To me, those restaurants don't really, they don't survive in this type of climate right now.
Not sustainable.
They're not sustainable. For me, I want there to be hundreds of people that walk through the door a day that are just excited. And it's not about like, look how cool I am, look what I can make. It's more just like, did you come in and like want to cry because the lasagna reminded you of like your grandmother's, which I had that happen. I make this we make our own Italian sausage, and then we do a meat sauce and Italian sausage, fresh lasagna noodles that we extrude. And, so we take it to a higher level with that. But I keep it so traditional. And this woman came in, she's like, I lost my grandmother a year ago. And she goes, I ate your lasagna and I started crying. And I prefer those experiences, or people being like, oh my God, we got engaged. We were on a Tinder date and we met at your bar. And now I have it all the time at Black Market. Hundreds of Tinder dates that have all worked out. Like I could do a testimonial for Tinder.
That's awesome.
And I'm just being like, come to Black Market and you'll get married.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it, so people feel comfortable. They feel like it's like their second home. It feels like their hangout, and so that's what I like about what we do.
You should hit up Tinder for be the spokesperson, right? Get a sponsorship out of this. Talk about you wrote a cookbook, some years ago.
Like 100 years ago.
Busy Mom's Cookbook, 100 recipes for quick, delicious, home cooked meals. And I know that, and you've said this time and time again, of all the things you do, your most important thing is being a mom. So what did this cookbook mean to you?
The cookbook was so long ago. I think I wrote that cookbook it was like 10 years ago, 2010 or 2011. Mm-hmm. And it was the first thing that I ever did, I think, as a parent, where I was like, wow, now that this is on the planet, my daughter at any age, or her daughter or her daughter's daughter, will be able to pull this out or see this, and like I forever will live, if that makes sense. I know that sounds like crazy, but like that was like the biggest thing for me, where I was like, there's a tangible piece of paper that has been written that shows that I did something while I was here. And so that to me was like really cool, that somehow that will inspire, my daughter's children, my grandchildren, my great grandchildren, whatever that's going to look like. And the other part to it too was, I think the biggest part is, I was trying to figure out who I was even when I was writing that book. And, that parenting is hard. and it doesn't look, a lot of the cookbooks out there. And honestly, I don't really love the cover of this cookbook because it does play into that genre, which I was super not into, which was like, look how perfect this female is and look how she does it all. And so the stories inside of the book are total opposite of what the cover is of the book, because the cover has me all put together. I didn't want that cover. I wanted like Zaya with like flour all over her face, like holding a plastic knife, like accidentally, like, you know what I mean? Like fires burning in the background, like me on a cell phone. Because, really playing up the busy mom and what that looks like and how many times you've almost set something on fire. You've like forgotten your child's lunch at school and your kid's gone without lunch and you get a phone call from like, the school being like, don't worry, I gave her your sandwich. And you know what I mean? And so that's the kind of the story of a busy mom who, has a lot of guilt and who has a lot of like, I'm not doing enough. And like, and so that book was more that with those recipes and the stories behind it.
If there's ever a reissue of the book, you can go capture when you and Zay are cooking now on Guy's thing, and you're like, don't burn the fish. Yeah. Everything's.
I was like, don't burn the bread, and then all of a sudden we're like, what's that smell? And I pull the bread out of the oven, and the bread is on fire.
Well, listen, we are huge fans. We love your competitive spirit. The food you put out on these shows looks amazing, and it can tell because you're always, winning these competitions. We appreciate you so much for giving us time tonight.
I got one more thing. Oh no!
You do.
Before we go, I need to know one more thing.
Don't ask her for a recipe. That's hack. Okay.
Oh, really? No. Two of your favorite podcast interviewers from New Jersey walk into Scopa. What do you feed them?
Oh, okay. I don't know. Okay. I don't know what kind of drinks.
We eat everything. We drink everything. Go.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything. Okay. So, I would feel like I think we make some of the best Negronis in town. So I feel like Negronis, and then it's like ricotta crostini, which we make fresh ricotta and we whip it with mascarpone and nutmeg. Overly charred bread that's been rubbed with garlic and like olive oil just poured all over it.
I'll eat that as the whole meal. I'm done. Good.
You have to have it. Then we do a squid ink calamari. Okay, so it's like super, super like black squid ink, like tempura fried calamari. Don't get crazy with the tempura. It's just like breading. Okay. And then a shaved Brussels sprout salad, so raw Brussels sprouts, pecorino romano, grapes, almonds, possibly with a little like eggplant caponata. Then you would have the rice ball, okay? That's like this huge rice ball that just swims in this like sea of tomato sauce. Then you'd have rigatoni alla vodka because that's where y'all are from.
Yeah.
But I make it so much better. Okay. Do the rigatoni alla vodka, like the cavatelli with rapini and sausage. Okay. And then you do like a whole veal. I do formula fed veal chopped Milanese, like beautiful greens on top, and then Zeppelis for dessert.
I'm gonna have to wear. I'm gonna have to wear her chef gear because I'm gonna need room.
When are you guys coming? When are you guys coming?
As soon as we're allowed to California, we're coming.
As soon as we're allowed on the West Coast, we're
to come here. I've been traveling all over.
Well, I'll tell you what. When we do come out there, we are going to make it a point and definitely come to your restaurant. Because
email me. Make sure you guys are very sweet for saying all those really nice things. I appreciate it.
Listen, we mean it all, and we
absolutely
appreciate it. And so, tell everybody where they can find you. How can they access Chefletics and your restaurants, what you're doing now?
All of it's on my website. So if you go to chefantonia.com, but all of them go to each other. So if you go to Scopa, you go to Dama, you go to Black Market, they all lead to each other. So you either go to chefantonia.com and it takes you everywhere. And then I'm on Instagram, Chef Antonia. It's just all Chef Antonia. Glad someone bought that domain.
Yeah, there you go.
I sure don't have it. Someone does.
Good luck.
Thanks.
And, next competition, just take it a little easy.
Impossible.
I start rubbing my earlobes.
Well, it was very nice to speak with you.
It's so nice talking to you guys. You guys are the best.
Awesome.
Talk soon. Hopefully in LA.
Yes.
Come see us.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Antonia Lofaso.
How cool is she?
She was mad cool.
Dude, Arch, I'm telling you, like I told you, fucking competitor.
Yo,
Like,
could you imagine if she was an MMA fighter?
yeah,
Where would she take that to the night?
I feel like she has the mental makeup to do that for sure.
Watch out, Miss Nunez.
Yeah.
If Miss Nunez steps into a kitchen and puts on an apron, she forget it.
We have to come up with a nickname for Antonia as her fighting nickname.
We're gonna send it out to her. We're gonna let it know. But I tell you what,
out of LA, California. The chef.
If we ever go out to California, at least we got a place to get a bite to eat, right?
Oh my god, dude! And let me tell you something. And I'm not just saying that. Like, you watch these shows and you see like they make food on like competitions. Her food is like, it's like, oh my god, like so interesting, and like I would love to eat that. And just what she was saying that she would feed us at her restaurant. Let's go. I'm like literally starving right now. How chefs that went on TV were maybe looked down upon or like frowned upon. The chefs that I've seen, like we've talked to Chris Santos. I know for a fact, like Guy Fieri, like her, like they believe in the food that they're making. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to open a restaurant, I'm going to make money by, because you can make money 100%.
Yeah.
But it's like they live that food.
Well, Rocco, my friend, with that being said, do you have anything, and I mean anything, delicious to say to the people?
If you just heard us talking to Chef Antonia and you're hitting a roach, but you don't have arachnophobia and your phone's ringing off the hook because the telemarketers won't leave you alonia, and you know that mortadella is really just Italian bologna, then you just listen to Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
We out.
Send him my love, George Carlin. Now they've got you carrying cargo. Klaus and Wilhelm. Give him a kiss for me. Give him a blowjob for me.